So it gives me immense pleasure to be addressing this wonderful and profound theme of teaspoons of change to transform the world. And as a spiritual giant of this planet, J. Krishnamurti says that to transform the world, we have to transform individuals. And therefore, today I'm going to share the journey of my personal transformation from being a painfully underconfident, socially extremely anxious, stuttering, stammering, slouching person who grew up being labeled as a mentally retarded and abnormal kid into a fluent and fearless public speaker and acclaimed author and someone whose work, contribution to society and individual human beings has been appreciated and acknowledged by a Nobel laureate, His Holiness the Dalai Lama himself. Also, I'm going to share with you the teaspoons of changes I added to the blandness of my life to make it into a sumptuous and savory cocktail, bringing transformation, entertainment, and inspiration to hundreds and thousands of people, including top CEOs, corporate employees, army and police officers, young students, and spiritual seekers from across the globe. And if you add these teaspoons in your life, it can bring about a radical shift in your consciousness too. So, as I mentioned earlier, I experienced an extremely rough, abusive, and traumatic childhood. I was short in height. I used to stutter, stammer, and it was extremely tough while growing up because I belonged to a financially and socially not so well-to-do family. And whenever people used to get chance, they used to pick upon me, bully me, beat me, embarrass me, humiliate me, even publicly, and give labels such as retard and abnormal. And while growing up, listening to all these words were really traumatizing and damaging at that tender age. And though there were a lot of people to aggravate this situation, including my teachers, classmates, and even my family members, there was no one to really understand me, help me, hear me out, or heal me. And I used to just pray to God that just let one day pass without me being humiliated, bullied, beaten, and embarrassed for who I am. But there came no answers. And similar situations continued in my college. But in the college, I started to feel a deep urgency within myself to heal, empower, and transform myself, because I realized that if I continue to live like this, carrying all this sorrow, trauma, grief, and fear, and don't take charge of my life, then my life would be a disaster for myself and for people around me and my loved ones. Also, I realized that despite all these challenges, I have a lot of talents, gifts, creativity, and potential within me. I used to draw well, play musical instruments, and write poems. But I was so scared of people that I never found expression to my talents. But here I was committed to transformation. So I thought that let me go to a psychologist appointed by my college in order to overcome my challenges and express my potential. But instead of finding any solution, my problems were aggravated. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. And after knowing the history of my life, the doctor told me that I have been suffering this since last 14 years without even my knowledge. And she said that it will take few years of therapies to heal, and the path looked arduous. And she prescribed medications to me. I decided that I'm not going to drug myself and my brain with chemicals, but instead find holistic, higher solutions for my self-healing. And thus, I started to immerse myself extensively in the research in the fields of modern neurosciences, psychology, and ancient Indian spirituality. I chose meditation over medication with an intention to not just heal myself, but to really understand what it takes for a human being to live a life of true inner peace, harmony, joy, compassion, and bliss, and how a human being can overcome all the challenges of his life, not from a state of agitation, frustration, anxiety, but from a state of inner bliss, balance, happiness, and harmony. And I committed to myself, I created a very clear vision and purpose of my life, that if I get to explore these secrets of human mind and human consciousness, I'm going to share this with the world and help people overcome their challenges, tap into their potential, and live life to fullest. And this was the first teaspoon of change in my life. Getting a clear vision and purpose for my life and gaining extensive knowledge in those subjects. Also, during my research days, while reading a very popular book on self-transformation, I got to discover that all the most happy and successful people in this world have few things in common. First, they are extremely careful and conscious about the environments they live in, the people they surround themselves with, and all of them, except none, have mentors. Oprah Winfrey has a mentor. Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates have mentors. Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela had mentors. Even our own cricketing god Sachin Tendulkar had mentors. Even the Dalai Lama had mentors. A shark in a fish tank will never reach beyond 8 inches, but in an ocean can grow up to 8 feet or more. A shark will never outgrow its environment, and the same is true with human beings, with me and you. And I really wanted to change and grow to my fullest potential and capabilities, and therefore I decided to change my environment. Always remember, your inner potential is like a seed, and your vision is like the sunlight which will nourish it. Your daily disciplined actions are like the water, and the people around you, your mentors and the environment is like the soil. And would you agree with me that no matter how potent a seed is, if it is not placed in the right soil, it will never reach its fullest possibility and potential. And with all due respect to my prestigious law university, I realized that it was not the right soil for my inner seed of creativity to blossom. So I dropped out of my college. It was really a huge, extremely huge risk because everyone was criticizing me. People were throwing their fear-based judgments on me. They were like, you are never going to get a good job. You will regret this decision when you'll see your peers making more money than you. And they thought that I'm stupid, which they always anyways thought. So it didn't matter. And I took this risk. And after taking this risk, I started walking on my path. And today, after looking back at my life, I know for sure that it was one of the best decisions of my life. And so what did I do then? Like, after a few days, one of my meditation teachers asked me, why did you drop out of your university? And I said, to prepare for the universe. So what did I do to prepare for the universe? So I embarked upon my spiritual journey of self-healing, expansion of consciousness, and realization of my vision to serve humanity. And thus, I started to live in a monastery under the guidance of a very popular Indian yogi, mystic, visionary humanitarian Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev, where I learned some really powerful and potent yogic methods, meditation techniques, which brought tremendous inner transformation within me and opened some unperceivable and unimaginable dimensions which I didn't even know exist. This was the second teaspoon of change in my life, taking a big risk towards my vision, not listening to the voice and opinions of other people, not listening to the voice of fear, but listening to the voice of inner faith and putting myself in right environment with world-class mentors. Also, while living in the monastery, I started to involve myself intensely in the activities of selfless service and contribution, which included activities like planting trees to rejuvenate green cover of the forest, serving food to poor and needy, helping and assisting in making of eco-friendly villages, making natural habitats plastic and garbage free. And this was the third teaspoon of my life, selfless service and contribution, which allowed me to think beyond myself and my limitations towards the well-being of my fellow human beings, and also allowed me to cultivate some essential human values like compassion, contribution, selflessness, sacrifice, service, integrity. Also, while living in the monastery, there came a time when I started to spend almost 5 to 6 hours of my day with my eyes absolutely closed, going deep into meditative states. And in these states, dropping, dissolving, and releasing all the patterns of sorrow, grief, trauma, fear, and conditioning of the past, which I gathered since so many years. And thus, making the slate of my mind absolutely crystal clear and still. And in this stillness, what started to happen was an upsurge of true inner bliss, joy, ecstasy, and freedom, which was not mortgaged to outside situations, but came from within. And just 3 to 4 months of doing all these practices with discipline, my PTSD left me, never to come back again. I overcame my stuttering, stammering, and social anxiety and transformed myself into a fluent and fearless speaker and a happy, confident, and joyful human being who was expressing his gifts of art, music, and poetry in front of people on various public platforms. This was the fourth teaspoon. The work I do and the contribution I make gets me to meet, share stage with, and work with some of the most impactful, inspiring, and influential people on the planet. Padma Shri and Padma Vibhushan awardees like H.R. Nagendra, Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev, Nobel laureates like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, fashion giants like Satya Paul, and Hindi film superstars like Manoj Vajpayee and Shah Rukh Khan. I'm living my dreams, making an impact, and transforming people's lives. And why I'm sharing this story to you is to not brag about myself, but to tell you and show you that if a person like me, having no formal degree, if a person like me, this is the first time I'm sharing this on any public platform, that if a person like me, coming from the background I come from, a part of whose childhood was spent in slums, can live his dreams and empower people from across the globe to live theirs, then each one of you can live your dreams and master your destinies, if only you equip yourself with the necessary tools for making it happen. My life, my work, and my mission is just this, to share, teach, and transmit these tools of transformation to individuals. And I'm sure if we add these tools, these teaspoons of changes in our lives, we'll not just transform ourselves, people around us, but this nation and humanity as a whole. And it's possible. Thank you very much.